Welcome to the Global Quickie. I'm Michael Brooks. In the Global Quickie, we take a global international issue, break it down for you, give you everything you need to know about it. On this edition of the Global Quickie, is China about to get much more aggressively involved in Syria? And some reports point in that direction. And they also point in the direction of China synchronizing their interests along with Russia, Iran, and the Assad regime, and ongoing fighting in that multi-part proxy war happening in that ravaged country. I'm going to read now from a report that Juan Cole put together that sort of sets the stage for this, and then I'll explain why China might be engaging more so in Syria. Now I'm quoting Juan Cole. China and Russia both belong to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which appears to see Iran and Syria as potential strategic assets in its rivalry with the U.S. and NATO. They feel as if NATO stole Libya from them, and they are determined to take a stand in Syria. Now, moving forward, this is a quote from China's Global Times from a former Chinese ambassador to Iran. China's position on the Syria crisis will not change. They will not allow it will allow the Syrians to decide on the Syrian crisis will not change. That is, it will allow the Syrians to decide their own country's destiny. Intervention from the outside can only enlarge the crisis, so China will maintain a relationship with the government and encourage negotiations between different parties. And, of course, that's a reasonable position, and there does need to be some type of multi-party negotiated settlement. There's a couple of reasons that have been sort of positioned as to why China is taking a particular interest in Syria at this time. One is they're concerned about the Uyghur population in China. This is a Muslim ethnic group that are, in fact, very repressed by the Chinese government. Some members of this minority have fought for al-Qaeda and ISIS, and China is concerned about a potential blowback and its own domestic security as a result of Uyghurs potentially fighting and receiving training in Syria. There's also the perception that China is trying to exact some type of revenge on the United States because of our policy in the South China Sea, which has upset China, and a sort of broader kind of strategic positioning of China itself on the world stage, taking a bit more of an aggressive posture. And it makes sense that they would be synchronized with Iran, Russia, and Assad against what they perceive as Western interventionism and hypocrisy, which is, of course, in many cases right, but not exactly given a great alternative by what China is promoting in a pretty mercantile foreign policy. So we will see how this plays out. Will this lead to more war, more destruction and civilian casualties, or could this be another pressure point towards finding some type of potential negotiated settlement out of this? Although, given the realities on the grounds and the transigence on many sides, not least of which, of course, ISIL, that seems to be very far out of reach, and the humanitarian crisis is deteriorating again after a brief respite earlier in the summer. I'm Michael Brooks. That's the Global Quickie. Hey, subscribe to my show, Two Dope Boys and a Podcast. I co-host it with my friend Phil McKinsey. We have a crew of amazing people that come in as guest hosts, and we have an on-point segment where we interview people including TJ Mizell, great DJ, Rana Faruhar, economics editor at Time Magazine, and many, many others. It's about trends, it's about race, it's about politics. Find us on iTunes, the number 2 Dope Boys and a Podcast. You can also go underneath to the link right here, click a link on it to either our Stitcher page or iTunes. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening.
Hello, you. I'm Sam Seder. Looking for smart progressive talk that is occasionally amusing? Well, subscribe to our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our podcast. Like us on Facebook. And just generally enjoy us.